Okay.
So, so you don't have to worry. I'm not sending this to anybody other
Cool.
than everybody. All right. Hello, final two of Kaleidoscope Season 7, Seven Deadly Sins. You are the final two passengers, and you have survived 17-ish people leaving before you. We don't talk about the others. Dot dot dot.
We can just say 19 rounds.
19 rounds, yes, okay. But before you go to the final station and plead your case for the amount of money, I think it's $130. You do have to go
Sorry.
through your players and talk about them because we like it. And you can be as nice or as mean as you want, however floats your boat. We're just here to moderate, and we'll go ahead and get you started, making sure y'all can see my screen.
I
All right, we'll start with our first eliminated player, Kim.
I'm actually kind of sad we didn't get to meet Kim. I was hoping like we could bond over the CTC connection that we all had, but I don't know.
I was gonna say Kim was actually somebody on my list that I wanted to meet. I've heard really good things about Kim, and I'm all about a good like mother icon. Her nickname was Kim Mother. It was so sad that Kim Mother got blindsided. But I feel like she got blindsided in such a crazy fashion that like she is such an iconic pre-juror for the fact that she got blindsided for like actively like trying to play the game really early on.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, she trusted the wrong people, aka Noah, and it sent her home. But I think her elimination is so iconic that she had soldiers that also dealt with her. So
Yeah,
I think that kind of ate that. She had impact in and outside the game.
Rob Goddess.
Bring her back for second chances.
All right, next player voted out. We have Andrew.
I feel like Andrew was a weird one. I don't know how much y'all talked on original red, but for someone who was in the minority of post swap blue, did not communicate enough with me to try to save himself.
Okay, now it's my shade. Okay, so here's the thing. I love Andrew the Pieces. I played with him in the collective. It was kind of cute to see him here. Like we didn't I voted against him twice until he went home. So I didn't really have a bond with him like that, but I always found him very sweet. Again, he's a little bit like different, you know. He's a very interesting kind of guy, a little bit to himself, a little bit quirky, I guess is the word. But I kind of feel like, and I've said this before, problem with Andrew specifically is he just doesn't have the social ability to help himself. I feel like he's somebody that like if somebody wants that, they can easily bring him along. But like if he was on the bottom by himself and he had to go forge relationships, like I had to do in this jury phase, I don't think he would have survived. I think he is somebody that is very nice, but doesn't have the innate ability to make those connections to really help him gravitate towards the game. But he's a very nice person.
No,
And
yeah,
I
he
do I
was.
do hope I do hope that if he plays another org that he can take that piece of advice and really excel in the game.
Yeah,
All right, next up we have eliminated in the same night, Caitlin.
Okay. Okay, so let's get it started. Do you have anything you want to say, Caleb, before I go?
I just think that sometimes Wordle can be a very difficult game.
Okay, so you're definitely trying to give the PR statement. So here's the tea with Caitlin, okay? You know Amy never talked. Amy never talked on our tribe. So you know when Amy said something, you know shit was hitting the fan. So let me just say that this challenge is unique. I believe this is the first time in Kaleidoscope history, which you can reiterate. This is the first time in Kaleidoscope history where there was a redo of this challenge with two different tribes because we swapped, I think, after Anthony went home. And so the reason why I say this is because going into it, I knew Amy was better at Wordle and I was good at Wordle. She was better at side puzzles. And obviously for the logic one, we didn't know exactly what the logic one would be, like portals, connections, and we found it out. And Caitlin was so pressed about doing this stupid Wordle. She said, "No, I got this. I want to do the Wordle." And I was like, "Okay, I guess Amy's doing the slide and having PTSD again, and I'll do the logic and I'll mess it up." We had a 13 minutes lead in the last four-ish puzzles. And then it comes to her, 21 minutes and 20 seconds. 21 minutes and 20 seconds. That is about how long it took me from the minute that I found out who my new partner was going to be for the Love One challenge at 5 to actually completing the challenge at Final 5 or 4. So the reason why I say this is because is Caitlin a really nice person? Yes. But she completely dropped the ball. She should have listened to us, and maybe she would still be here if that was the case. I don't have sympathy that she went home because she also was really cocky and thought that she was going to stay in this game over Amy. Like, baby, you played yourself. You played yourself right out of this game, and I think you should know that. Also, when it came to Caitlin, there's this joke called the funnel cake gate because as soon as we lost, instead of apologizing right away, she sent a picture of a funnel cake. And Zach, I believe it was Zach, was the one that looked up online, how long does it take to make a funnel cake? And they said about 20 minutes. So the joke is that she made a funnel cake and came back and submitted the challenge. So is she a really nice person? Yes, Caitlin is a doll. But as a player, she was infuriating. She didn't listen and she got sniped out of this game. And if it wasn't for the fact that Kim was being messy to Noah, apparently, and Noah and Aaliyah weren't number ones, then Caitlin would have been the first boot of her tribe. So she had a Lord and Savior in Noah. And unfortunately, I was not doing that. I was not going to be the Lord and Savior. I was going to be the devil that round. I was going to make sure that she was out of this game and she can make all her funnel cakes in the pre-jury and live her happy life. Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Parker.
Wait, before that, we need to have a couple discussions. So first off, Laura W. I was not excited to see Laura W in this game because she's always a mess, chaotic, and she's a really big gaslighter. I had a feeling and I had a hunch because she probably knew me and Caleb's relationship, and I wasn't gonna say anything, but I just knew that it was gonna be a struggle. And if she made this merge, oh baby, it would have been a mess because you know she can't keep her mouth shut. So you knew if you thought Tyler was bad playing back and forth, oh, you haven't seen Laura W yet. I'm
Yeah,
not shocked that she cheated. Just because like when I played the collective, her and Mike shared their like inner circles on night one. I mean, it was per the rules, but it's just kind of crazy to me. I'm more upset at Laura W because she's the reason that Amy got sniped. Like, I just wish she would have been like a more thoughtful lawyer and followed the law of the game, and then Amy would still be here. And to touch on Amy a little bit before I give Caleb his time to talk, Amy, I love Amy. I love the fact that she can never speak because she was always at the bowling alley, like mom. Um, but like I think at the end of the day, like she shouldn't have told Kate in the call that she found out what Laura W's idol clue was when they were never on the same tribe together. So at the end of the day, she hit a gutter ball and Kaden got the strike that round. So that sucks. But if we lost, Amy was going home. So to see a 50-year-old on the cast, but yeah.
I just find it so comical that Laura came into our tribe, our starting tribe, trying to say that she was not going to play another villainous game. She's trying to get away from that persona. And then day one lied not only about her idol clue, but her sin. Like we weren't going to be able to fact check that. Um, and you know, it's just funny because for someone who wasn't going to play a villainous game this time around, she did everything I've heard about her in previous games, turned it up to 10, so much so that she got herself kicked out of the game. So, like, if anything, that's impressive. I'll give her props.
Okay. So who's the person?
Parker.
Parker. Never met
Parker was
them.
hilarious.
Met
I
them. Don't know them, so I can't speak.
I honestly wanted to work with Parker, even though Parker gave me nothing in this game. Parker, I remember one time I like told him that I was gonna, you know, be loyal to him and trust him and we could go far together. And he got so excited at my pledge of loyalty. He's like, Caleb, you don't understand, bro. I know I've been a little inactive, but moving on from here, you're gonna get like paragraph long messages from me. I'm gonna like spam you. You're gonna be annoyed with me. Tell me how he never sent me another message after that. And like when I would be on call with him, he would say the craziest things where like I don't know if it was the age difference because he was 18 or if it's just like a difference of personality, but like he would call himself like wild things. I remember one time he called himself the god of the season. I'm like, we've been through one tribal. What are we doing? So like
I think it's just because like he's Gen Z and you're more millennial, so I feel like there's a generational gap. But
I
that's
found
like
it so entertaining though. Like I wasn't even rubbed the wrong way by it. Like
no,
normally
that's what my brother would say.
if someone's telling you they're a god and like they're playing this game like they're the return of the king, it's cocky, but he had such a charm about him. I only found it humorous. Which
Okay, and we also it's better than Laura W.
yeah.
That's crazy. Anything else on Parker before we move on to your BFF?
All right. Moving on, we have the last person that left before the merge, Sergio.
Very messy. Um, I wanted to work with Sergio, but I think I understand now why Sergio has played more orgs than I can count. And it's because I'm trying to be nice, sorry. But like there's a reason you play this many orgs and you have seen little to no success because it was unnecessary messiness. I think the temptation challenge proved that and how many temptations he took and how poor his decisions were in those temptations.
It
Lying
can't
to
be
people.
worse than Danny.
That's true. Lying to people, trying to pit people against each other, and ultimately trying to vote for me, which is never a good idea. We've learned this after two orgs. So it's no skin off my back. I was riding the kissing tower 250 feet in the air when that tribal happened, and I knew I was surviving because he played himself out of this game.
Not the fucking kissing tower. That's sick.
Yeah, I got a break from a supervisory shift. I got to work as an operator, and all I did was ride the kissing tower up and down all day, 250 feet in the air, surviving a boat. It's easy, light work.
That's iconic. The only thing I can say is I heard he was messy, and I believe if I'm right, him and Laura W were on the same starting tribe with you. So I can't imagine how that would have went. But like looking at the personalities of your tribe that made the merge, I'm kind of gagged like how you guys even function. Like I still say this to this day. I do believe my tribe is the complex tribe of the season. Like there's too many rivalries that are on this tribe that it's like yeah, but I have nothing else to say.
All right. Then we will move on to our last preacher, the timeless Mike Jones.
Oh my,
Jury baby. Sorry, go ahead, Caleb.
you can't not vote for me if you're not on the jury. Such a shame. Um, and maybe you would have been on the jury if you actually were willing to work with me, give me information, say anything. But instead, you gave me nothing and expected the world from me while also throwing my name out there to other people, which I recognize was like low key our strategy because Mike and I knew we were going to have this relationship coming from CTC where we didn't like each other and we were going to play off of that. The difference is every time I threw Mike's name out there, I told Mike. He was throwing my name out there, not telling me, as if I wasn't going to find out, which is crazy. Mike, what are you doing? I feel like a lot of people just play themselves out of this game. But again, I don't need to worry about losing his jury vote in back-to-back games because you don't have one.
Um, I said this before on my starting tribe. He would always want to have a VC with Laura V and always wanted to have a VC with Tyler. He never wanted to VC Teddy G. I had to beg for a VC. And I'm not a beggar. Like, I'm so sorry. I begged once for a VC and I knew he was going to be my target. Um, on our tribe, I think Andrew was at the bottom and Amy was at the bottom. I think Amy goes first and Mike actually probably gets blindsided second, actually. Um, a big fan of Mike, like very nice person, but like I just wasn't a fan of his gameplay. So I thought it was funny that he got pre-jury. I was actually more gagged that he got 12 because that's what he gave John Buckley. So in a sense, it was like what comes around goes around. So um I don't have much to say. He kind of played himself, especially with the whole red yellow tribe thing. Way too messy. When his name was out there, he apparently was exposing a lot of stuff to a lot of different people. So it kind of was just like, well, thanks for playing.
Yeah, and thanks for paying Todd Herzog a fat amount of money to do your intro video just to go out
That's
for your
crazy.
shirt.
That's crazy.
Sorry, I'm being petty.
It's okay. Petty Ketty support.
All right, with that, we will move on to our first juror. The following players have a hand in your fates, so they won't hear any of this, so you can vent your true feelings. First up is Caden.
I
I
will say, go ahead.
no,
No, go ahead.
I actually, as hard of a game as played as Caden played, Jesus Christ, that was a tongue twister. Caden played a very, very hard game. And they were guns blazing from the start. But I kind of appreciated it and I enjoyed working with them. I especially enjoyed playing Fortnite with them because it was such a funny conversation the entire time. But I don't know. I will give them credit for playing with a tenacity that I don't think anyone else could, but it was such a high intensity it got them voted out.
Okay, my turn. This is my take on Kaden. I think that socially, I think it's like a strong intensity. I think that Caden is a can be a really good social player. I think socially, Caden is pretty good at this game. I think Caden's really good at making like strong connections, making alliances. I think Caden was good there. Caden was shit strategically. I think that Caden did not make a single correct strategic decision. I think that in this game they just were too gun hold about certain feelings, and I feel like that got in the way of their specific gameplay. And it's upsetting because I feel like if Caden had laid low the first couple rounds with a strong uh uh social bonds, I think Caden is probably a lock for finale, if not final, too. I just think that Caden came in way too hard. Socially was fine, strategically was making too many alliances, people caught on, and was not a good liar the round that me and Laura were targeted. Like, didn't even try. So I kind of feel like when it came to that, like, yeah, good person, good vibes, very chill. I think strategically, Caden was just not it when it came to this game. And that's why they went to the jury. And me and Laura laughed about it afterwards. Moving on.
And moving on, we will. Next up, we have Laura V.
Okay. Let me just say this. This
Another Rob.
girl, this girl is so funny. I had this conversation with Noah a couple days ago. My favorite moment, looking back on all the clips, was when Danny played the idol for Laura and Laura goes, "Thanks." It's just thanks. It is the funniest thing ever. And I'm just so sad for her because like I feel like she's a better version of Andrew. Like I she was the first one I ever had a conversation with. We bonded over the fact that like both of us can be socially awkward and we can both be introverted at times. And so for me, like that was something that I realized was like it was nice to have somebody like that because sometimes I feel like I have to be on all the time and I just don't have like iconic social battery. I really don't. I'm so sorry. But I think what's really interesting about Laura V's game was that like it was really hard to pull her in right away, but once we got that grouping together, that voting block, you were kind of with the other ones, you just kind of knew about it. But once my
Yeah.
voting block kind of formed together, even though Laura was at the bottom, I thought there was a chance for her to like really succeed if she just got her footing in. Um, but unfortunately, she got rocked out in her second org back to back, and I feel bad for her. I don't know how much further she would have gotten based on like where she stood. Like I feel like she would have been worse collateral damage than I have because I feel like socially I was better than Laura. But like I loved Laura, was an icon. I was so sad when she went home. And truly and honestly, I do hope that she is in contention to come back for like a second chance season or a returning season because I think she'd do really, really good.
I agree. I think she, even amongst her own self-aware like downfalls, even though she knew where she was struggling, she was always pushing to like do better. And I appreciate that. Like I I think she just didn't give up. Like even the round after the Caden,
Boo.
fiasco, she came to me and like told me like, "Oh, Tyler blindsided me, didn't he? Like Tyler voted for me." And I said, "Yes." And instead of like being mopey and upset about it, Laura like went to work and I respect that. I also just miss Laura because they were someone I played Mario Kart with, and anyone who plays Mario Kart with me is instantly my best friend.
Love that.
Right. Moving on, we have the live night victim, Aaliyah.
Oh, let me just say, I not think that I would have a quarter of the grace that she had that night. And the reason why I say this is because there's always going to be this conversation about the Laura V rock draw versus the Aaliyah rock draw. I think there's a big difference because going into the final 10, Laura was aware that you were voting her and it was going to be 5-5. She
Mhm.
knew if there was an idol to be played or how, no, yeah, I forget what it was going to come down to, but that it would have been her and Taylor in the rock draw. She was fully aware that it was a 50-50 chance. And if it worked out, we had the numbers. And if not, then she was going home. It was very devastating for Laura, but she knew that going in. The sad part for Aaliyah was everything worked against her because Danny forgot about the plan and we would have had the numbers. But also on top of that, Danny also had the advantage where he didn't have to specifically draw a rock, which meant that by default, I believe it was you, me, Aaliyah, and I think Sheena.
Yeah, Sheena.
Yeah. So by default, 3/4 of a chance and a 50-50 chance of this duo going home. But I say this because at the end of the day, like it's difficult out there. Like it's rough. And I feel like especially like her like she was going through a lot like at the time, especially that week. Like I just think the fact that like she was so disappointed, but she had such grace about it, despite like you could tell how upset she was. I think shows what kind of a queen and like how strong of a character she has. Truly such a positive person, funny person, just brings a ray of joy to everyone that she talks to. So I really hope they give her another chance because Grilly did not deserve that for a minute. If we knew the wheel was anti-feminism, I think our plans would have changed who we voted for, but there was nothing we could have done in that moment.
Yeah. I think Aaliyah had maybe the best social game of anyone here. Because while a lot of people on both voting blocks fell to the stereotypical like mistake of just not communicating or even trying to work with the other voting block, just ignoring them as a player, Aaliyah was friendly with everyone, talked with everyone, even when like they were admittedly one of the people that was slower to respond, even though they were slower to respond, even though they had a busy schedule. uh Aaliyah was super friendly, extremely nice, and someone that like you would immediately fall in love with, which made them probably the biggest threat if they got to the end.
Yeah, even Noah didn't want to go to the end with her.
Hmm.
So I just hope that she gets the justice she deserves because she ate this season up.
All right. Next up, we have Mr. Eighth Place. We have Danny.
Okay, so this is Pookie Bear number one. And let me just say, the conversations me and Danny had this season were insane. Like, to put it in perspective, there were days where like I was drunk and Danny was drunk, and that was such a good combination. That was really messy. He was just so much fun. Like we laughed all the time. Like there was not a call where I wasn't being penny with Danny. And Danny, in his phrase, no shade, pink lemonade, or like whatever, I thought it was funny. My favorite quote from Danny, which was anytime we were like making jokes, was like, I can't stand you. It was so much fun. Like I felt really bad. And I am a full believer that like as much as people say like they don't know what Danny's doing, I do feel like Danny knows what he's doing. I think he's a very different kind of player. I think the way he views the game strategically is a lot different. And I think that was really hard for him because I don't think people understood his point of view at times, so it made it harder for him. But I knew strategically that like even the round that he voted for me, I didn't have any bitterness, whether it was to potentially tied a vote between us so we weren't in a rock draw or I was going to go home. I enjoyed Danny a lot. I think he was a great presence on this cast. I think he was so much fun to have, and I'm super excited to reconnect with him after this show ends.
Danny was a headache for me. I don't think Danny knew what Danny was doing half the time. Sure, they could have been this savant, but I don't. When we were in a call for an hour, and three times in that hour, Danny asks, "Wait, what's the plan tonight?" By the third time, I was about to flip. So I don't blame Tyler for flipping on the plan because it's hard to be aligned with someone who gives you concern that they are even a real human. I, in my prod chat, was fully convinced before Danny left that they were an AI, a production plant. Like it's fine. Maybe Danny was a savant and was just thinking on a higher level than all of us. Regardless, I couldn't deal with it.
Anyways, moving on.
Anyways, moving on, we have Miss Seventh Place, Taylor.
Okay, I made this joke before. Blonde Taylor ate this game up. But as soon as the hair dye happened, I feel like I saw a different side of Taylor. And I forget who made the joke. It might have been Noah, but like she was doing so good. Like she was on the ball, like she had her stuff, and then I believe she dyed her hair the night of the public forum, which totally saved her ass, by the way. Like I think it was the hair dye. I think it really saved her game. It's like not, but like honestly, I got to talk to Taylor a very little, but very nice person, very good at this game. I honestly think that if Taylor didn't go at seven, she more than likely gets locked to final two and wins. Um, I never had this, but I've heard it from you and other people where like if like y'all didn't vote according to the plan, this kind of goes with Taylor and Sheena, who's next. They would like be like, "What the heck, guys? What happened?" And they would go make another alliance without whoever, and then they'd be like, "Information stays within this group before we go out." So very interesting. It was nice to have two rivals this season. I think it keeps me on my toes. But yeah, kind of gagged, and I was pretty shocked. But I think she played really well. She just got dealt with the bad hand that she had to deal with Tyler being the swing vote, which was not good for her.
Yeah, I mean Taylor was my number one pre-jury, and I really put a lot of trust in Taylor. Now, obviously, I threw her and Sheena under the bus as a duo, but they were a duo. Like they had an alliance with every combination of every player that existed. Taylor, Sheena, and other player, that alliance existed. You can name any player, any combination of multiple players. Taylor and Sheena were in an alliance with them. Taylor was always going to prioritize Sheena over me, and I was aware of that. She did not do a good job hiding that. and that's why I flipped. I will say, as much as I love Taylor as a person, and I enjoyed working with Taylor while I did, like while we were on the same side of votes, it was a blast. I think one thing that I found frustrating with both Taylor and Sheena, so this can apply to both, was this kind of level of like moral superiority where like they were allowed to go behind your back and form alliances, but you weren't. And they were allowed to make plans without you and blindside you, but you weren't. But the second you went against them,
That's news to me.
the second you went against Taylor and Sheena, it's the end of the world. You're dead to them. I mean, Sheena at one point wouldn't even talk to me. So like
I
I
mean, you
just
saw the crying emoji. Let me stop.
I just think that like it was a little frustrating to play with someone who had that level of hypocrisy. I love them to death. And if they're watching this, I do think they're amazing people. But in the game, that only pushed me farther away from you. I felt like it was rules for the rest of the cast, but not for me. I know there's like a better way of saying that. There's a literal like cliche saying that's almost like exactly what I just said. Um, but they very much so pushed me away from them instead of bringing me back in, which was not going to help me stop from flipping.
All right, moving on to our sixth placer, we have Sheena.
Listen, I said this from day one. If there was a girl that I underestimated, it's Queen Sheena. Hawaii, like I think with Sheena, it's interesting because she was on a call for 20 minutes with me, Tyler, and Laura. We were doing like Jackbox or something, and then she didn't call again. What I really enjoyed about her was even though she was really frustrating to communicate with all season long until final seven, six, but she had a call. She was kind of like my favorite rivalry of the season. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I always knew that everything was gonna be okay when Sheena said my name. It sounds really crazy, but if Sheena said my name, I said, okay, we'll be fine, guys. But if Sheena said someone else's name, I go, okay, guys, we need to figure out like what's about to happen. Like, we need to plan for this. Um, very sweet, very bubbly. I really do wish we had more time to talk in the beginning because I think it would have changed at least our trajectory in the game, maybe. But I feel like we settled on good terms. Best would be the, I guess, the word. Again, I never got to be in like um the Sheeler kind of grouping, so like I never got yelled at or supposedly like confronted or like whatever it was that people would be saying. Like I never got called out. That's the word. Called out or exposed. So I never had to deal with that. But very fun presence for my end. Personally, iconic player, annoying at times because it felt frustrating not to be able to talk to her or if she would just say my name. But yeah, back to you, Caleb.
I actually kind of enjoyed Sheena's bluntness at times. Um, I just, I think again, lovely person, but in the game, sometimes frustrating because it felt as though she was allowing herself to do things and play the game, but then getting mad at me or Tyler for doing the same things. And I just wish that in future games, maybe don't completely swear off communication with people the second they flip on you. Probably
It's
not,
okay. I'm sure her and Tyler are having that conversation right now as we
you know,
speak.
probably not the best for your success cutting people off.
All right. After the systematic elimination of the she, hers, and she days, we have fifth place Tyler.
I also want to make a point. This is the start of our final five in the group song challenge.
Yeah, a very purpose
Um,
final five. Totally.
where do I start with this man? Like, where do I actually start with this man? He was my number one person on my tribe that I was on all three tribes with. I enjoyed him a lot. Like, we got close really quickly, but then the merge happened, and like I know I said that Caden played really bad strategically, which I still stand by. I argue that Tyler played worse strategically. I think the Caden vote exposed that Tyler was in it for himself and that he was going to do whatever he needed to do to get by. Um, he got mad because I said three comments at the live, even though I didn't say the most. But it was pinned on me and Aaliyah since Aaliyah went home because they didn't want to throw Danny and Noah under the bus. But it was interesting where like that happened, where like he got mad at me for him playing both sides, and then he worked, and then he was paranoid again. Like seven, he was paranoid about you, and then at six, he was paranoid about me. It was just like paranoia across the board. And I knew when I got that conductor vote, I knew that like if he got to the end, he probably would win because of all that influence that he has. So, you should be very grateful that you hired a free attorney on the jury because he's about to work for that check for you. So you better not give him any more than 5% of commission. But like personally, I
Maybe
enjoyed
five
him a lot. But as
more.
a player, he was like the most frustrating person to deal with. And I was glad that he flew off the island.
I think Tyler and I had very similar strategies going into it, where we wanted to kind of play the middle and almost weaponize the warring voting blocks against each other while we could just coast by. Um, the issue is Tyler definitely got paranoid a lot, and also I think got exposed a lot more than I did, which might be lucky for me, might be bad gameplay for Tyler. I can't really say. I just think we had very, very similar games. I'm almost glad that I got to the end and Tyler didn't, because then I don't have to pitch against someone who has such a similar game to me.
All right. Next up, your fourth placer, Austin.
King, I I miss him so much. I'll never forget the one time we called, like the first time ever. We just talked about like the tea at work. Like we just talked about tea at work back and forth. And that call went for like 3 hours long. It was kind of insane. Very nice person, very sweet person. Clearly was playing with their heart passively. Um, Very lovely presence. I hope to continue to talk to Austin outside of this game. Nothing but love. I wish I got to talk to him more, but like I think overall he played a pretty decent game, and I feel like if he made it to the end, he would have the argument of being like Kaleidoscope's favorite house guest or whatever they would do.
Yeah, I think Austin tried to sell himself short at Final Four to convince me to vote with him, and said things that I had even kind of said throughout the season, where it's like he said like, "Oh, I've done nothing strategically. I've done nothing in this game. I won't win." And while strategically I oftentimes was concerned with his lack of agency, I disagree looking back. Like, I think Austin had a really good chance of winning because Austin had such a like wonderful personality and was able to not only survive like crucial votes like the 5 versus 5 vote, but kind of utilize the voting block he was in to his advantage much more than almost anyone else in that voting block. I mean, Taylor and Sheena had already been voted out. Tyler had been exposed, and I had flipped. So like Austin had a very good shot to win, even though a lot of people were underestimating him. I was underestimating him. He was underestimating himself. I think socially, though, a wonderful player.
All right. Next up, the person you, Caleb, just voted out, Noah.
Well, he wasn't lying when he said he went through all 5 stages of grief, and I think I did the same. He had
I
really
went through four,
he had really, really good pitches at one point. He had really, really poor pitches at one point.
which is crazy that you would consider that. Let me thought.
And at another point, he tried to like threaten me that he would sway the jury against me, which I think is the worst way to pitch yourself at the final vote. It's giving Carla, but I I do think Noah was the biggest threat for a while, and maybe who the threats are have changed. Maybe it is now me and you, but I think the fact that Noah was so passionate to write a literal 5 paragraph essay and constantly respond to me even after that essay and send me voice memos and send me more paragraphs, it was a testament to how much he cared and almost made him more scary to take the end because of how much passion there was behind his game. I don't know. It was almost scary.
So to give you all a little bit of a brief, if you didn't know, I play with this man in CTC, and it was a disaster. He would flip back and forth, even though supposedly I was his number one. So think of Tyler's game, but like much, much messier, much, much, much messier. Um, and think of it like positioning, but like Laura W's social ability. It was a mess. It was a train wreck. And like I had a lot of bitter feelings. I did not want to play this game with him. I came into saying like I did not want to play, but then we got really close. I think he turned on a new leaf. He was kind of like Pookie number four. I obviously had Danny, and I also had like you and Tyler. Like there's just a lot of Pookies I had in this game. I had to position them right so that they weren't all aimed at me. But I think that this game, like, I really commend Noah because, like, if you would have told me and Noah would have been like the last ones of our voting block, I would have said that you're lying. I think that Noah is a very socially savvy player. I think underestimates that. I think strategically also an icon. I think he knew when to give information, when not to. I think he positioned himself well, and I honestly think that if he made it to the end, he wins by likability. I think that there'll be people that could be upset, but I truly think that at the end of the day, um, he would have a great case for himself because he is that passionate. And also, like, I think it's all about equality, you know? Like, I think if Tyler's going to be your jury attorney, I might as well have Noah be my jury attorney, right? You know, balance the playing field a little bit. So it's all about making everything equal. So I love Noah to death. I don't think I've laughed as hard in a long time in this game without me and Noah sending edits back and forth. It's actually kind of crazy. Um, one day, Caleb, we will get you yesified so you can understand what we're talking about through edits. We're so close. You're like right there. If the bar's right here, right there, like you're so close. You're so close. But enjoyed him a lot. I feel bad. Like this is the trajectory that he went down of getting third place, but I think he played a hard fought game, and I think that he should be very proud of all the accomplishments in this game.
Yeah. I I even though like I said we went through a lot in the last 24 hours, I heavily respect his constant unabashed like barrage of trying to pitch me to keep him even when there were things in that pitch that I knew were lies or things that he was definitely trying to gaslight me. And at one point, you know, the low key threats, like I, while a little upset by it, can respect it because he was trying every angle. He tried, I'm convinced, every pitch ever attempted by someone going into the final vote before the end of a season. And I think that is just a testament to how passionate of a player he is and how relentless of a player he is. I don't know. I think Noah was a very, very good player. There's a reason I voted him out. And the 29 different pitches I've heard from him in the last 24 hours only confirmed my reason to vote him out.
All right, and with that, we are done with the eliminated players. And now I'm going to give you both an opportunity to get a little sappy or a little bitchy towards each other, whichever you prefer, or nothing at all. You can be as short and sweet as you like, or you can go on for 10 minutes. Please don't be too long. I want to go to bed eventually. But yeah, we're going to start with talking about one of our finalists, Caleb.
So am I going then?
Yeah,
Question.
yeah.
Okay, that should have been clarified. Let's see. What do I want to say? Do I want to be a massive bitch or do I want to be like okay? Honestly, proud of you. I think that like I remember you had such a not great experience in CTC. And I think there was a lot of things that you didn't specifically do that also like came out later, and it was just like a tainted season. It's giving Island the Idols, just like a tainted season, like no one can recover from. And I think that like I was very sad for you because like I feel like it was such a bad representative season that like I didn't want that to be what your org experience is known as, like that one org defining you. And I knew that you had the capabilities to do the same thing. Like I know you're very social, I know you're very strategic. Even if you're on the kissing tower doing 250 cycles, like you're fine. You're fine. Not me. I'm at the cup fusion operating, stressing for the life, hoping that I don't go home when there's four people left in my tribe and two of them have immunities due to greed and sin immunity. Okay. But I think overall I'm very proud. I think that like going into this, I knew you had a lot of hesitations. I think you were really worried. And I think that you showed that like despite having like one performance that you were able to like consistently prove that like you can get to the end and you never got voted out. You can say that you never got voted out of org whether you win or lose. So I think that's pretty impressive. I think that I was worried about you around mid merge. I'm not gonna lie. I was definitely panicking during that Sergio vote too. But I think you were able to really come together, really formulate, really figure out what you needed to do. And when you needed that immunity the most, you did it. Which
Yeah.
technically you didn't need the immunity because apparently Noah was going to give me final immunity, and I told him I was going to slice his neck. So it didn't matter which one of the two and a half of us won. You would have been in the finals, but you earned that final immunity fair and square. So whatever happens, congratulations. You can always say that you outlasted John Buckley by at least 10 placements, so you will always have that. Just remember that.
Yeah, I feel like in two orgs I've played more days than John Buckley's played in 10 orgs, but that's okay.
That's sick. Ah,
Who's who's our next player again? What's their name? I don't even fucking remember.
Our next player is Keddy.
Oh yeah, my darling. This is such a blast playing with you. I was also a little worried playing with you because once we were outed as a duo from day one, I thought we were fucked. Shout out Laura W. But I think that we were really, really able to come together and play a wonderful game. And while, you know, it didn't always go our way, we had to draw rocks together. Danny flipped on us, and so did Tyler the next round. Um, we always clawed back. And I think what I appreciate the most, regardless of who wins and who loses, is that we were able to play two different games. I know I'm proud of my game. I know you're proud of your game. And I think more importantly, above all of that, is like I obviously considered us friends before this org. Like we hung out, went to Six Flags together, play video games constantly. But I feel like this only brought us closer together, which has been a blessing. And I do truly, truly appreciate that.
yes, post wedding celebration. Let me stop.
Yeah.
Post wedding gift.
The only cast member to be at my wedding and at Final Tribal.
All right. And with that, the two of you are done with the lies, done with the votes, done with the blind sides. All that is left is a special night where you face the jury and pitch your cases on why you deserve to be the sole survivor of Kaleidoscope. Thank you both for playing this season, and I can't wait to see you both back here for what is sure to be an eventful finale night. That
Thank
is
you,
all.
Jack.
All right.